All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have some fun. I just want to say welcome to another episode of Talking with WIT, Kevin and Son, featuring and showcasing people you should know. Hi, my name is Kevin Mclemore. I am your show host, four-time published author, mentor, coach, and some of my friends call me the Mindset Messenger. This episode is brought to you by RMK Productions and the 10 United Podcast Network. Our mission is to give power to your voice, inspire, share stories, experiences, and perspectives using the framework of teaching, learning, and modeling. Oh, I made that sound so good, didn't I? Our purpose is hope, helping other people every single day. Now, I want to tell you, whatever your objective, successful people like my guest today, they create a framework around their day-to-day life that not only enhances theirs, but many times they pour into others. Now, I'm going to tell you to buckle your seatbelts because my guest today, her cup is running over. Our guest is an inventor. She has the ILEAN Pan. She has designed and solved a challenge for cooking multiple ingredients in different temperatures in the same pan. Not only is she a serial entrepreneur, but she is an author of a best-selling book called Managing and Knowing People, which happens to be the topic or the subject of our show today. Today, you will learn how to unlock your full potential, manage annoying people, how to get out of your own way, how to handle and deal with difficult managers. And if you stay with us long enough, my guest will share with you the art of decision making and showing up to be your best version of yourself. When we talk about the way this is going to hit your mind, it's going to hit you physically, emotionally, aspirationally, cerebral, and ethereal. So let me welcome to the show, Miss Excitement herself, the supercharger on a jet engine, the gift that life needed. And welcome, Miss Ilene Marcus. How you doing, Miss I?
I am on cloud nine after that. That was beautiful.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I was making it up as I went along.
I like it. The plane as we fly. That's the way.
All right. That's all right. That's all right. You have an incredible life. You have a wonderful story. You've written a book that most people avoid talking about in public. We talk about it amongst ourselves in our small circles, how to manage annoying people. But I want to make sure that people know who you are before you became the author, where you came from, how you got started, what pushes your button. And basically, let me ask you this. You have a beautiful Labrador named Beauregard. Yeah. I love that name. It sounds so distinguished. Does he occasionally give you annoying advice?
Well, not only does Beauregard give me annoying advice, like it's time to go out or there's a squirrel in the yard, but he ignores my advice when I give it to him. Stop, don't go, sit. So, he is a handful, that one. He is a big boy. People call him, they're like, put a saddle on that thing. He's a very big dog. So he only weighs 70 pounds, but when he stands up on his hind legs, he's about 5'4". So he's huge.
Is he a rescue, if you don't mind me asking?
No, Kevin and I'll get into it. He was an engagement present. And even though the engagement wasn't fulfilled, I wanted the guy. I ended with the dog. Life gives you, only what you can handle.
Well, you do know, being a dog lover yourself, the gift of kindness lies within a dog.
Yes.
Okay.
And my favorite, I hope this doesn't offend anyone, dog is God backwards. So there you have it.
Something, if God is offended, waking up in the morning pissed him off already. So don't worry about offending anyone. Before we talk about this wonderful book, How to Manage Annoying People, that you're the author of, bestseller, let's talk about you. What is your story? We will pull back the layers of your life. What should we know about you? How'd you get started? I know you're someplace up east. Okay, I won't pinpoint your location.
Yeah, I'm in the Berkshires, which is a beautiful part of the country where New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts come together. actually where the light bulb was invented, or the GE Labs was invented. So a lot of the things around the light bulb, like we have the first ski slope that ever had night skiing, some of the places that had first street lamps because of that legacy and the power of the Housatonic River. So I live in a place that has always been creative and had very interesting people and been a trendsetter. So I like to say, nothing personal, but Sedona's got nothing on the Berkshires, you know? It's very spiritual here. You find yourself, you find your tribe, and just the greenery and the way the mountains roll, you always feel hope. You know, you always feel like there's something around that corner. So it's a beautiful part of the country. And a lot of people know Norman Rockwell, the painter. This is where Norman Rockwell painted. My mother keeps on saying, like where Norman Rockwell painted, no, not where he painted, he lived there. Just like the town, no, not the town. So Stockbridge is 20 minutes away. And a lot of people know the James Taylor song, right? From Stockbridge to Boston. You know, James Taylor spends a lot of time here. So it's a pretty special place in the country. And I ended up here because I went to summer camp. I was a troubled kid that, you know, came from a family that, you know, my parents had been first generation American and their parents were Holocaust survivors and immigrants and then lived through the Depression. And I was trouble, you know, I was just always asking and hanging out with the wrong kids. And I liked the older kids and I wanted to know why. And I wanted to try this and I wanted to try that. So I went to Bronx House, get those city kids out to the country for the summer. And that's how I found this area. I worked at a camp called Bronx House and then just came back summer after summer. But that's kind of my story. I am the second oldest of four girls. A lot of energy with those four girls, right? You know, a lot of hormones. And I was always different than my sisters. And my parents would say it like it was a bad thing. You know, like if we were building Barbie houses, you know, it's cool to say Barbie now. It wasn't at one point. But, you know, in that era, in the 60s, growing up, we were building Barbie houses and we didn't have a lot. So I'd be like scouring stuff from the workbench or the yard, or like my mother was a teacher, from her like chest of, you know, materials. And we would have to build our own kitchens, our own stuff. And I always got the best stuff. And when my sisters asked if they could have it, I would say, no, but we can make a communal thing, or we could all make a bedroom. I was always trying to build an ecosystem and build it bigger. And my sisters would go to my parents and say, Eileen's the boss. Eileen won't share. Eileen this, Eileen that. And my parents say, yeah, be nice to your sisters. Instead of saying, oh my God, you're an entrepreneur. Yes, maybe we should trust you. Maybe they should follow you. Girls, you know, get in line with Eileen. She does have the best material. So I was brought up believing kind of there was something wrong with me. You know, I was very independent, but my parents never fell down on my side. It was always about my sisters. So very early on in my life, I found community, because when I went to volunteer, I was on the Girl Scouts, or I went to the school newspaper, I was on the swim team. When you were asked to help and you helped, people said thank you and they liked how I did it and I was good at it. So that's really, you know, my story. I just wanted to not be in my house. So I would find things that were interesting. I always had food, of course, because I love food. But, you know, that's the story. I had to find community outside of my house because I really wasn't getting what I needed at home. And, you know, eventually that led way to being a social worker and working in big systems. And, you know, the questions I ask and the way that I organize myself and get the best material were really celebrated instead of, you know, I was punished for them. And that's how it kind of happened.
Now, I'm going to have to ask you this because I'm listening to you. One of my favorite shows that came on during the pandemic was Mrs. Maisel. That character, is that you?
I wish.
No, because you delivered
Joan
the lines,
Rivers.
whatever. I mean, as soon as you talked about, you know, the camp, I remember the episode when she went there with her husband and whatever, and the way that you said everything, I'm going, all right, now I know where the character came from. Yeah. All right, because you delivered your lines like you had written them yourself.
Thank you. But, she was a master. She's not even a Jewish girl. That's like you keep saying. But that's kind of the experience that a lot of us had. She grew up on the Upper West, which is where I eventually lived and raised my daughter. I grew up in Long Island, but that's what it was. You went to camp, you went to synagogue, you went to the rabbi, you were a good girl, you bought a brisket, you always tried to do everything right. And that puts a lot of pressure on you. But she always had that great outlook on life. And, especially when we talk about the art of decision making, that idea to dig into yourself and find your original thoughts when people aren't looking for them or when everybody else is saying the same thing, I think that is something, I'm glad stayed within me, even when I was told, why are you asking that? Why are you doing it that way? Rah, rah, rah. And that's clearly what she had, right? She had an interesting take on everything, Mrs. Maisel.
All right. I am going to kind of flip the switch on what I promised my listeners going to listen to, because I love entrepreneurs. I call them professional risk takers because they do things that other people won't do. And along the way, this is going to tie in to managing annoying people, because going through the process of starting a business, coming up with a concept, executing it, and then putting your own personal time and money and getting people to believe in you. You have created ILEAN's Pan.
Yes.
Something you can cook with that manages different ingredients at different times and so forth. I know I said I was going to say that for last, but over your right shoulder, that pan is looking at me and said, Kevin, speak to me. And at the same time, the annoying people on that book said, speak to me. We're going to talk to both of you real quick, because there are a lot of people that are in the latter part of their life. And I tell young people all the time, you're not going to discover your purpose or why or your why until you're in your late 30s or early 50s. That's when everything starts to materialize. You have to go through some stuff. But ILEAN's Pants, how did you do that?
So, as I said, I got into government and got into community work, which led to government work. And I was always about helping others since I had a bootstrap, right? The food pantries, the help for people that are just making it, the home care, nursing homes. I was always working with people who were kind of needed help. So we were always fundraising, always fundraising. And we joked at the beginning of this episode, building the plane like we fly. We want to do this program. We can't get money. How can we get things together? Well, when I made it and I moved up here full time, I volunteered as with economic development, because it's almost like, people teach high school and then they say, oh, I want to go teach kindergarten. I want to get them before they have bad habits, right? You've heard that. So yeah. I'm like, oh, I'm always helping people with a food pantry, how to live the end of their life, how to, make sure that they have a job. But instead, I wanted to get them early, or how to make sure they can get the best benefits and housing and everything they need. I want to flip that script and teach them how to be independent and how to make their own income so they don't have to rely on government and everything. I want that to be a last resort. So I started working with entrepreneurs, and it was the same work that I had done in government, really. What's the idea? How are you going to do it? How can we get resources? Who do we know? So I started bootstrapping, and I've been doing that for the last 10 years, working with people to help create, because I've created all these interesting programs, delivery systems, can't even think of what they are now, medical, things. And I started working with people, and, when you hang around, you become the people you hang around. That's very important. You do become. And since all these people were creating, I had a stove that when I moved into this house 18 years ago, the house was 18 years old. So the house is now 40 years old and the stove is crooked. And everybody keeps on saying, build it up, put the shims in. What's wrong with you? But the floor was plumb, but the stove was like one of those old enamel with one of those, and it just kept on falling into itself. But I'm a problem solver. What did I do? I put the big slices of eggplant, down here where they were close to the fire, and the little ones here. I put the big chicken cutlets. I put the garlic that was going to burn up here and the onions down here, right? So I started to cook in the pan differently. And last year I got a new stovetop. And I missed the lean. So I created a leaning frying pan, a sloped frying pan that approximates what my stove had done for the last 18 years. And that's how I came up with the idea. But I want to jump ahead a minute because you hit something very hard. It's not just the idea, right? The idea is something in your everyday life, right? Think about like that little pizza top that we used to have, that little table on the top so the cheese didn't go in the pizza box. Someone said, oh, I'm losing all my cheese. Oh, I'll put something there. It wasn't like a long thought out thing. It solved an immediate problem, right? Mm-hmm. I'm burning my onions while my chicken's undercooked every time. So what's your problem that you're solving? And once you do that, the real work is in putting it together and figuring out who can make it, how to make it. And especially in my case, coming in at a price. I mean, I didn't want to go and spend, you can spend a lot of money on prototypes, but how do you find people who will fabricate your idea and not tell you, well, you don't know metallurgy and you don't know this and you're doing it wrong. Let's just make my idea and then see where it goes. And finding those people was the hardest part of this job, definitely. But the pan is hopefully by middle of August, I'm going to launch a Kickstarter just to get it out there. My website is being built and it's, it's in production and that pan is going to hit the market.
When you get to that point that you are ready to do that, come back on the show and give a live demonstration. And the reason why I spent 15 years marketing and sourcing product to QVC, this is a QVC type item. And I'll explain to you after the show how the whole process works. And I have a very good relationship with the buyer that happens to buy for kitchen. And I will be more than happy to make that introduction for you once you get to that point. Now, the nice thing about the way that I'm thinking is like, your problem solve. How do I introduce your book? And then at the same time, talk about Eileen's Pans. And you segue just brilliantly, because going through the process of starting a business, going through the process of creating a partner or getting people to believe in you, you have to learn how to manage people. And sometimes your initial first wave of teammates are a little annoying. They don't get it, and they're there because they see the end result, the prize, the success, whatever. But the process is where the real reward is in anything you do. So you created a book, best-selling book, by the way, called How to Manage Annoying People. What was your motivation behind that book?
Well, at the time I was coaching CEOs, I had led an organization of 10,000 people in intractable bureaucracy. And I was one of the first people to turn that bureaucracy around, really change the way that we give out welfare benefits. And the interesting part was that to really win the unions. When my daughter was born, the largest fruit basket I think I will ever get in my life, it was taller than me, it like towered, was from the union. And I remember, that's a whole nother story. I was like, can I accept it? They're like, yes, it was a life event. It's not a bribe. But the point of it being that, I have always, really, I'm a hard worker and I respect other hard workers. So when people don't work hard, it pushes my buttons. And when I got into government, I realized maybe they're not working hard because no one's ever asked them to, or they don't have the right tools, or maybe they only see this slice of their job and they don't really understand what they're doing as welfare workers and how that impacts the whole city. So it really started out for me as, learning to manage people, what they needed to know, kind of like what their job is, why it matters in the supply chain, and how what they do really has an impact. So, if I'm a janitor, I'm not just wiping the floor, right? Especially if I'm in a hospital, I'm making sure there's no bacteria. I'm keeping it safe for people to operate. I'm making sure it's clean. I'm making sure it's aesthetic. I'm giving people a better experience. It's not just a clean floor. Everybody, I always say, whether you're picking the coffee, making the coffee, cleaning up after the coffee, you have an important role in the supply chain. So I found that people were really annoying because either they knew their job and they didn't want to do it, or they didn't know their job and they didn't ask. And either way, that was annoying to me, So I started to learn how to manage, and then I managed this incredible bureaucracy, and I was managing CEOs finally. And they were all complaining about their teams, every single one of them. This one doesn't listen. I hate my meeting. I have to go sit there. I used to love working with this guy. Now he asks questions. I don't know where they're coming from. And I would always say to them, what is your responsibility? You're setting the tone. It's something you're doing. So I had one of these days where I coached 2 or 3 of these guys, and I just went home and started writing. and I sent the book to one of I sent the book to someone who was in publishing, and he had this deal: don't ever send me any book, if we work together. And I sent the book, and as soon as I sent that, I said, I know we had this deal. He goes, too late. I read it. Keep writing. So it was really born out of annoyance, out of frustration, out of, repeating myself constantly. Like, what is your responsibility? What was your tone? What did you do? How come they reacted this way? Repeating that over and over. I just wanted to say, here is the checklist. You don't have to keep on paying me to, coach you. This is what you're doing. So does that answer the question? That was long.
Well, that's fine. I don't mind long stories being short. I don't mind that, because believe it or not, in management, it's always never their fault. People don't realize. I mean, I wrote, and I said I can always tell a true leader versus one that's been appointed to lead. And I said, if he or she is scheduled to leave work at 4:00, look at the clock at 3:00 and see what happens. 15 after, they're in their office making phone calls and they're gathering stuff together. At 3:30, they'll come out on the floor and whatever, and they'll say hello and whatever. At 1:45, they've gotten their stuff all together and they'll say hi, bye, and whatever. And they leave exactly at 4:00. Now, I learned that because when I was running my own business, I always made sure I was the first person every member met. I was there before the doors opened. I was the person that closed. I never left my job until I handshook every single member, and I asked, if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. If there's a problem, I always wanted to know the problem before it became a problem or a situation.
Amen.
And that's the way that I did. So when I look at managers that's been appointed, I just shake my head. And then when I listen to them lead, I'm going, how are you leading when you've never been where you're trying to take the people that you are?
Yeah.
If and when I started my business, when I started RMK Productions, the first thing I said, I am never going to bring someone in to my circle that doesn't want this business to be successful, because every single day I work my butt off in order to make sure they're successful. And then on top of that, every member and every team member shares in the success of my business. So, and especially if you grow an idea, I'm going to give you ownership and profit sharing in that idea instead of becoming the company's. And I said, I just changed the way that I think, and I've got a great relationship with people. My turnover rate is marginal. So how many times a day, I'm going to ask you, because you go to the grocery store, you do this and whatever, how many times a day are you annoyed, and who annoys you and what annoys you?
At least once. And I always say, when people usually ask me the question, what's the probability of someone getting annoyed today? I'm like 100%. It's like taxes and death. 100% someone's going to annoy you. I have to say, for me, it is less and less and less. And that's because I've really been practicing what I preach. And I give people the grace, if someone, like today, I was trying to get to an early morning Zumba class and there was someone in front of me. The speed limit is, slow to begin with, 35 miles an hour, and they're going 20, which is going to then, take 15 minutes, not 15, but a good 8 minutes longer to get into town. And that's like the difference between, and I just had to sit there and say, you know what? I don't know what they've been through. I don't know what they're scared of. I like to say my higher power put me behind this person for a reason. So how am I going to use this time? So I really do not get annoyed anymore in the same way I used to. But, someone that's going to annoy me is someone that does something that my mother does all the time, which is, if they don't like the answer you give them to a question, they keep asking it. Hey, can you meet me here? No. Oh, can you meet me here? No, I can't do that. I said, hey, can you meet me? No, I can't do it. They just keep on saying it because they want you to change their answer. You want them to change their answer. So I find that very annoying. I also find people that, there are people that are oblivious. We know that, right? They're just in their own world. But, I was online in the grocery store. I got to stop using this example, but I love it. So, there's a huge, resort community here. So people come and go, and there's a lot of second homeowners. So people come and go, but it's a pretty big population anyway. And it was one of these holiday weekends, and I was online in our local supermarket, and this guy, is like up on top of me, which I hate, right? This is my dance space. This is your dance space. Get out of my face. But he's like up on top of me. And then, we're on the self-service cash registers, and one opens and he starts walking towards it. And I said, "Excuse me, you see I'm in line in front of you, right?" He said, "Oh, it's my first time here." And I looked at him like, "Right, but it's not your first time in a grocery store, is it?"
Right.
Like how ridiculous. My first time here, I didn't know I couldn't cut you,
Right.
People that use like that kind of excuse, right, to play dumb or get what they want, really annoying. "Oh, I didn't know there was a line. Oh, I didn't know that you had to take a number. I didn't know," I find that really.
Now, you teach how to manage annoying people. So I take it you're probably, I don't know if you're as direct as I am. My friends all say that I don't have a filter, which I'm learning. I always say if I were, I hate stupid people. I'll simply say that people that don't think or don't consider other people's feelings. This is me in a grocery store. If the teller is some teenage kid and they're ringing up and the person is giving the kid a hard time over something they can't control, I normally say the conversation the kid's normally thinking, because I know he or she can't say it because they're getting fined.
Right.
I get
I'm just like you.
And so I will say it, but I also, Tom Herrick and Oldsmobile, Tom Herrick and Oldsmobile gave me my first job as a 16-year-old car salesman. And he says, "I am going to teach you how to shake someone's hand and call them an asshole and have them thank you for the greeting."
I like that. How do you do that?
It's getting people to think. My son did it to me once, my youngest son. I was so infuriated at him. I mentioned the words and I never done it again. I said, "You know something?" I was so pissed off. I said, "I'm going to kill you." And he goes, "How's that going to make you feel?" And I go, wait a minute. You just kind of threw my thunder. I can't be mad because now I'm thinking. When you get people to think
Yes,
for themselves,
to take them off their tracks.
yep, and then they're able to be taught. It's just like when I'm coaching or mentoring, the first thing I ask before, and this is my way of evaluating. So I'm going to say, "Joy, pay attention to what I'm saying." I always ask. So I'll know what I'm going to. Does the ocean come to the beach, or does the beach come to the ocean?
I'm not afraid to answer.
It's a 20-minute conversation. I just want to let you know that.
Yeah, right. I was going to say it depends on the day. How angry is the ocean and how windy is the beach? But you are saying something very important, Kevin, and very smart, which is, it's always about perspective and how you look at it, right? And it's always about like what you choose to start with. If you're always going to come from, "Look at how this works for me and look at the problem, and the ocean has to work so hard, or the sand, but I just lost my train of thought. But that idea of who we are at the root and how we show that's a really good way to get people, the conventional question was glass half empty or full, but exactly right. I always say to people, you have to know what you think first, because otherwise you're going to be out there angry and mad. If you don't know if you think the beach is coming to the ocean or the ocean's coming to the beach, you're just going to be angry either way, right?
You're exactly right. So if I were to have someone read one chapter of your book, and I know you have the beautiful presentation of your book right over your left shoulder, managing annoying people. Before I go into you go on to answer the question, how can we get your book right now?
So it's right on Amazon, Managing Annoying People. So you can get it there. You can also go to my website, which is myname.com. And if you scroll down, you can also sign up for the ILEAN Pan and the book. So there's buttons for both of those.
All right. And real quick, are you still coaching and mentoring and do public speaking?
I do public speaking. I am not doing as much coaching and mentoring, I have to say, because I've gotten busy with the pan and I get too annoyed and I want to and I want to stay focused on the pan. I definitely do some. You always do some. It's hard to let go of it, and I have old clients that come back to me. But these days, I'm doing speaking and more of gearing up for the pan sales and getting a TikTok presence. That's my new, Well,
I'm going to tell you, just from my experience, you don't need TikTok. You have a social media presence right now, right?
Not as good as it should be, everybody tells me.
How many people do you have on your
Not a lot.
200, 500,000
On my what? On my...
On your social media page, Facebook, anything on?
Yeah, like maybe 2,000, 3,000.
All right, you know something? I can show you a way, and I won't do this today because I'm going to do this on another.
You're my hero today.
With 2,000 people, I can make you a millionaire.
Really?
If you got 2,000 people that are connected, I only socialize and with people that have a high call to action. If you've got, and I can almost guarantee you, out of 2,000 people you have, every last one of those people cook. Every last one of those people has a pot or pan that's 5 years or older that needs to replace it. So if you look at the fact that if all those people that follow you, all those people that commented on you, if you had asked that one person of those 2,000 people to buy one of your pants, and you do a pre-sale on that.
Yep, that's the idea.
Right? You do a pre-sale on it long before you wait for your website or anything else or go GoFundMe. You don't need GoFundMe. I'm going to give you $1 million concept. Ask them for 10 straight days to ask one of 10 of their friends to buy that pan and have them repeat the process for 30 days. Each person is going to add 10 people to that. So I don't know what the dollar amount to do that is, but all the money that you need to raise will be raised within 30 days. And then you pre-order your pans and deliver those pans and express it over to them. You know, the reason why QVC is so successful is because they under-promise and over-deliver. They'll tell you it's 2 weeks and they'll deliver it in 5 days. I'm giving QVC 6 secrets. And that's the reason why they have such a loyal following. And then also outside of the box, you put ILEAN Pan outside the box. So when the neighbor sees that they've got a pan, they go, why didn't I get one of Eileen's pan? and you repeat that every single day. And then when you hire whoever your marketing person is, I will show you how to market your product and spend little to no money on that.
The universe put you in my path for a reason. It's amazing. Between that and then the fact that that's your backyard. And, you know, let's talk about that for a minute, Kevin. How do people meet? They meet through many different ways. And then when you start to have these conversations, you find out what you have in common. It's always amazing to me, right? That our paths collided.
You meet in one way because our meeting was intentional and it's part of the energy that's there. Like-minded people know other like-minded people. It's the reason why I say that I only socialize or surround myself with people that have a high call to action. Every single individual within my circle are finishers. They're not starters, they're finishers. They're doing something that they're going to finish. They wake up every single day with an idea or a process or whatever, and then they lean on each other. Some days that, like you said, annoying people come into your life and you don't know how to manage them and they get the best of you. They pressure you to the point that you just want to give up. You have people that were experts, whatever, take advantage. I had a person steal $10,000 from me, and someone says, why don't you sue him? I'm going, why? I spend all my time and energy. Yeah, I'd rather spend my energy in order to recoup that $10,000. That's something they've got to live with. Yeah. Now, the hard part about managing people in business is easy. All right. There is a spreadsheet, but how do you manage someone you love? Your daughter, your kids, and whatever.
That is very hard. I'm going to answer one question within. My favorite chapter is chapter 2, how to prevent annoying people from sabotaging the team. Because I think that's the same thing with the people you love, meaning that it's not just your interaction, it's the ripple effect, right? Like we throw a pebble in the water. If you treat someone you love, and it's funny because you talked before about how your son said to you, or, you know, how does that make you feel? When I'm in a relationship with someone I love and they do something annoying, I always say, is that something you say to someone you love? Stops them in their tracks every time. Is that something you say to someone you love? So that's a good trick. But the point is, whether it's work, whether it's a supermarket and the guy trying to cut me, or whether it's someone, you know, my mother, my sister, my daughter, it is about that moment of grace. It's about that moment between the reaction, you know, and the action. I always say your reactions speak louder than your actions. And a lot of us, you know, someone does something that annoys us, especially if it's someone you live with and they keep on leaving the dirty dishes, or, you know, they keep on using the last of the half and half, and you have to have your coffee. Not that I'm talking about from personal experience. And you have to have your coffee, you know, without milk. But you keep on saying and they don't do it. So you have to give them a moment of grace. So it is a really thing, like you said, it's on that person that they took the money from you. You have to really dig within yourself and say, It's that old law. How do I want to be treated? And then how can I treat that person in this way? And there are tools to do that, right? Think about how to smile. Think about what to say back. Think about how to turn the situation around and do the opposite, right? So in the moment, but the most important thing I always say is it's your reaction and you have to know it. I work with a lot of people who say, I don't react, and I play them a videotape. When I go into a lot of these, this is a CEO situation, it could happen at home too. They know I'm taping the meeting because I have to disclose it to everybody. And the first 5 minutes, everyone's on best behavior. But by minute 7, they're in their old patterns. And then when they look at it and say, oh, is that really what I said? I'm like, yes, that's what you said. Or do you see how your body language changed? People think, or do you see even, maybe not even get aggressive, but somebody was talking and you started to shrink. When they start to see themselves, and we have, nowadays, my phone does match your shirt. Nowadays, we have these phones that you can take pictures of yourself and really say, is that who I want to be? Because we do not always see ourselves clearly. We just do not. I call it our BS, our blind spots. There are things we just do not see about ourselves. So any way we can learn that, and in a love relationship, it's a reflection, right? You come with anger, they're going to come with anger. You think you're an angry person, but really, maybe you're shrinking. Maybe you're freezing. Maybe you're not having a reaction that is obvious to you. So that, whether it's at home, at work, in the community, I always start with know your reaction, because that's a clue to what you have to change. Do you have to speak up? Do you have to be quiet? Do you have to lean in? Do you have to lean out? Do you have to get yourself calm? Absolutely. So I think that's a really good place to start. But it really starts from the willingness. I want this to be different. I want to show up better for this person. I want this relationship to work. Because if you don't, then you shouldn't be there and get out of it, because you're not going to work on it, and no matter what you're going to do. But if you love this person and you want it to work, you've got to give yourself, both of you, a minute of grace.
Now, I'm going to ask you a little bit of a personal question, and I am going to say this. This is a first for me. This is the first time that I've ever had a guest on, and I can honestly say I have not read your complete book. So I'm going to apologize. I am going to order your book. I'm not going to ask you to give it to me, because I'm a firm believer that every single author, and I'm going to tell you people that have authors on your show, buy their book. Because if you had a book, giving it away doesn't help them promote their book and write a positive review about the book, because that's how book sales go. So I would definitely buy your book. Is it on Audible also?
It's not. I'm regrouping, and I just signed a book contract with a publisher. So we're relaunching and redoing. It's exciting. And we're going to go more towards the, the family or the annoying kids and stuff like that than the leadership book. So it is not on Audible. Your
book is just like the Chicken Soup series.
From your mouth to God's ears, or to QVC's ears, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can write and whatever, because a lot of people don't even know they're annoying. And the reason why I asked you in your personal life is because I have one personal friend in my life that I keep thinking that one day the light bulb is going to go off. That's the reason why I said there's an ocean come to the beach, or there's the beach. This person is the sand. And no matter what happens, she doesn't think anything through. She's always reactive. And this person doesn't know why her life is at a standstill. And I keep thinking that I'm very direct, and I keep being mindful of how I position the conversation, because she's very sensitive. And then, I take a break every now and then because it gets overwhelming, because she just doesn't get it. So when I look at your book and we talk about annoying people, especially in your personal life, in your professional life, how do you say no when they're just not getting it? Even though someone's paying you as a business and you've got a huge paycheck coming, or someone personal. If you look on the bottom of my email, what does it say? You're only strong as your last no. How do you get to that no when you have annoying people in your life?
Yeah. So, first of all, I am annoying, right? I usually tell the story. I was that superstar who I was producing for you, but I wanted more money and I wanted a meeting and I wanted you to do this. So I was always coming from enthusiasm, but boy, was it annoying to my bosses. And when I really started managing, I created a table of mini me's and I was like, oh my God, my head is swimming because, they all need to be treated special because they're so smart. So I know that I'm annoying. I say that my super skill, my whatever they call it, my superpower is that I'm a mirror and somehow I get people to see themselves. And I think that, and I'm not only talking about, videotaping, but through the techniques I use and the exercises I have you go through, I really know how to accelerate that light bulb moment. Oh, maybe it was me. Oh, maybe I could have done it differently. Right? Oh, maybe it's something about me. So I think that that's what we all want, right, in life. All of the things, whether you practice yoga or you follow Kevin as a coach, we're all trying to get you to that moment that you can see yourself so you can take responsibility and change. That's the name of the game, right? For self-growth and actualization. So, I pretty much know how to be a mirror and it's powerful. And I have a lot of people, and I'll tell you the other thing, and this is hard. People say to me, I had a client like this a few months ago who said, you're telling me that blah, blah, blah. And I have trusted this person for 50 years. And you're telling me now that this is what's setting the team tone. I said, absolutely. He said, I can't accept that. Now, we talked about decision making. I'm a data girl. I'm not going to say anything unless I have data, back it up with interviews, with, results from email, just there's going to be data. And I said to him, look, you're wondering why your team is falling apart. This is why. And if you're not willing to accept it, I can't work with you. It's just, here's the data. Here's the independent interviews. I even had several independent interviews. I told him, ask people these questions. So I walk away, not because I can't work with them, because they're not ready to work with me. And once I walk away, that has a huge impact when I say no, right? Because then they're going to come back a few weeks later and say, oh, yeah, I get it now. Will you please come back? And I'm like, only if, right? So I think, like you, I'm very direct. I'm at the top of my game or the end of my game. So I can walk away. It's not like when it was when I needed the money and I was doing this and I was doing that and I was building. I say, if you work with me one-on-one, you got to be ready to work, right? You got to be ready to face some hard truths. And it's, I once had we haven't used it lately, but I once had a tagline that said, you'll laugh, you'll cringe, you'll change, So I call it the cringe factor. Can I get them to cringe about their behavior?
Now, speaking of behavior, all right, do me a small favor. You had an item in your hand that matched my shirt. You mind holding that up again?
My phone.
Yeah, it's amazing. Beautiful picture of your daughter. All right. So I take it she's a young one. All right. Yeah. So I'm in the public every single day and I watch people 24/7. I go to the health club and people come in there with a great deal of enthusiasm. And then they come in, the first thing they do, they sit down and they start scrolling their social media or start texting and whatever. To me, that's annoying. I'm a person, the way that I was taught as an athlete, you go and you take care of your business. Everything else gets put on hold. There's a big argument amongst management today is that millennials don't want to work. All they want to do is be on their cell phones, but managers spend just as much time on their cell phones doing that thing too. There's a book called Hooked. It's the guy that basically created the whole marketing concept. Is the reason why we hold our hand and cannot get away. I mean, in the exercise field, there's something called text necks. Now we got young people with forward head, round shoulders because that's all they do. The muscles get out of line.
Yeah.
How do you have the conversation with said millennials and managers on how to? Both people are annoyed. How's that conversation, or is that a conversation need to be had?
There's a two-part answer at least. The first thing is you go to the gym. You're a former athlete. You go to work out to get your cardio, to get your business done. Unless they are overusing the treadmill in your class, in your way, I say the solution here is for you to Goldilocks. What does that mean? We all know the story of Goldilocks, right? Three bears. She was, she goes into the house. She tries everything, too big, too small, just right. So the first thing is you're just right? Are they impacting you? But what we forget about Goldilocks is she was trespassing. She was in their house. She did not belong in their house. So why are you on their phone? Why is that in your lane? Unless it's impacting you, right? Like I said, they're taking extra long on the treadmill. You're on a circuit. They're taking up the whole bench in the room. So that's the first thing. You have to say, you know what? I got to train myself. I'm not saying you per se, right? That's the first thing. Is it in my lane? Because, I can worry about the lady, why do you let you walk your dog so close to the road, right? Like, that dog is at risk, but is that my problem? I'm trespassing. That's her life. She's a grown woman. So that's the first thing. You have to really assess, is this my business or not? But the second thing is, sometimes I can't keep my mouth shut, or sometimes, so the second thing is, if it is kind of your business because you can't keep it straight, I always come from a kind of things said in jest or things meant best, right? So in the gym, it's like, hey, phone's getting more of a workout than you, or wow, your fingers are so strong. Do you run that fast on the treadmill? Wow, what do you mean? Well, I mean, like, are you working out or are you doing your phone? It opens it up, right? You make it funny and you talk to them. Now, different. If I'm the gym manager or it's my office and they're using it, then there's a direct conversation. This is the expectation. So I go, in some meetings, people now, some people really print out their stuff, but like if we're reading along from a report or something, a lot of people read it on their phone. So you have to really assess whether people are actually doing the work on the phone or whether they're doing something else as a manager. I get called in for a lot of these situations, right? And especially during, with remote meetings, how do I know what my team's doing? And there, it is your entire right to set the direction. No phones for this meeting, no interruptions, nothing, right? I don't want to hear anything. And if it happens, first offense, second, third, you have to have a actual plan. But the thing is, you have to follow through. And then this is where it gets tough and people don't want, people say, I don't know, you as the boss can't be on your phone either. If you're telling your team they can't be on the phone, you clearly can't be on the phone. So, first few times you say it funny, you do it as an experiment, but if that's your company policy and there's a reason for it, right? Because it's just not productive or they're not reading the right things, you need to actually, have an escalating scale and you need to practice that and model it the strongest. So that's a long answer.
Eileen, that wasn't a long answer. That was brilliant. That was brilliant and so well put. Now, do I have your permission? I'm a Southern boy, so I'm going to ask your permission. I'm going to ask you a personal question.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm saying this because when I wrote my book, Dating with a Full Deck, every single time that I
can't wait to read.
in my personal life that I gave advice, I was always accused of psychoanalyzing. You are a brilliant person when it comes to it. So I know that your better half of knowing this information. Do they question the fact that your husband or whatever, they question the fact, or do they say, well, this is annoying, whatever? How does this book affect your personal life?
I'm going to tell you, the book didn't really affect my personal life when I wrote it, right? There's a saying in writing a book, and I'm sure you found it. You write the book builds you, and together you build the business, right? So you learn as you write. So you learn more of yourself. The last 10 years, speaking on it, talking to people, showing how to manage it, that's where I really learned this stuff. And I have learned something that I now practice the last 6 years that has changed everything. And it took me a long time to get here, right? But once again, you have to really bifurcate. Am I the boss? Because I always say, if you are the boss, that is a financial contract. I am in charge. It's not like, who's the boss of me? I am in charge. I give you money. You perform a task for me. That's the relationship. Here are the work rules. As long as I'm treating you nice and giving you everything you want, you follow my rules, I treat you nice. So it worked clearly. In friendships or in peer relationships, even at work, it's a little different, right? Because you don't want to be bossy. So I have found these two words to be the answer to life for me this last 6 years. I suggest you do it that way. Here's a suggestion. Oh, here's a suggestion. Oh, I have an idea. I suggest. It takes away me saying, why aren't you doing it this way? Or, oh my God, don't you know, or don't you get it? I'm suggesting you can take it or leave it, and if the people respect you, they're going to take it. So those two little words, I suggest, I find are huge in being more human. And like I said before, also, things said in jest, a little joke. There's a mantra I have that people know, say what you mean what you say, but don't say it meanly. And I think the problem is when people get into situations that annoy them, they talk about everything else but, right? Or they are afraid to say, we had a situation, you talk about how you know who a leader is. We had a situation a few weeks ago, little town. We have a small little roadside store that's run by a mental health community. So everybody that works there, it's a lovely ecosystem. You're not getting your pancakes fast, right? It's a system. There must have been some out of towners, or they're visiting their parent. They actually pulled out a potty. I'm sorry, I'm doing this because it was so outrageous. And like in front of the back door, she has one kid going on the potty. All right, the first kid must have been an emergency. The bathroom was locked. Then she puts the second kid on, right? Well, we're eating literally 20 feet away. Everybody's, oh my God. Only one person in that entire restaurant got up and said, hey, I understand you got to train your kids, but do you think you could take it outside? Do you think you can move it? Do you think, right? Me. And I didn't say it mean to her. I wasn't like, oh my God, damn it, I'm eating. I was like, hey, I really understand and respect that you're trying to potty train your kids, but I don't need to see that while I'm eating. Can you move it around the corner? Can you do it differently, please? Right? It's that difference between coming with the anger and the judgment. It was just, I understand, but that's not what I need. And I think that when we do talk to people about things that annoy us, we right away come from anger or we come from judgment, and then that ratchets up the whole thing.
All right. I am going to ask, and like I said, ask for permission, because I know the way my audience thinks. Good. I've counted about 52 times that you waved your left hand in the air. I've asked you about your personal life. I do not see a ring on your finger. And I know that someone is going to call, because as exciting as you are and as honest you are, there is someone out there that's ready for someone like you. So I just want you to be prepared. I know people are going to reach out and want to know your status, if you're available, or whatever the case may be, or whatever. So just be prepared. It's not set up to be that type of show, but we are talking WIT, WIT.
WIT, I love it.
Yeah, it's like these things happen. So just be prepared. And I'm not going to even ask you your status. The left hand shows your status. So I will say this is that my audience has a very high call to action. They have done wonderful things for some of my guests. I've had a guest that had received from Paris, France, a $50,000 endowment. I've had within the last 6 months, 35 acres of land in Houston, Texas, donated to Kira Jr. He's a co-host for Steve Harvey, wants to build a facility for a medical facility for kids with sickle cell in their family, where they don't have to pay like St. Jude's. Someone donated that. And I've had 7 people in there. So I'm pretty sure that someone's going to look at and says, one, she's from the East Coast. I can tell that you're a good person and you're a good human being. And they're going to look at those beautiful eyes and the way that you carry yourself. East Coast girls always show up well put together and whatever. So it's not like you're going to wake up every day in your gym clothes. And then, you speak with a level of commitment that makes someone's day. So I know someone's going to come in your way and ask that question. It's like, Miss Eileen, I'd like to get to know you. So if you don't have someone in your life, I'm going to tell them to step up right now and get to know you. Read my book, Dating with the Full Deck, but also read her book. And I would say, anytime you date an author, read their book, because a lot of you is in your book. So that way they're not surprised. Very
true. Beautiful, Kevin. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm going to ask some quick questions. All right. We talked about your book. We talked about your pan, and I'm going to tell you, do the pre-order now. If you guys have, if you're part of her followers, all right, start to order the pan now, pre-sell it, whatever, set it up right now and wait for your pan. And as soon as you get it within 24 hours, post your opening up the box, post cooking on your pan, talk about it, whatever. You never know. If Eileen's star rises, your star may rise with hers too. All right. So Eileen, what distracts you?
What distracts me? Food. I love food. I can get very distracted in what I need to cook, what I need to do. So that distracts me. Seriously, my mother just turned 90. My stepfather just died. And it's an amazing fact. My mother has never lived by herself, right? She went from, her parents' house to being married to my father died. My two younger sisters still live with her to get remarried. My sisters, and he just died after 43 years. So I'm a little distracted now by some family issues, wanting to help and be there, yet really setting the boundary that I have to live in my life.
All right. As an entrepreneur, all right, there's more dark days than sunny days, especially when you're trying to make something come true. It is not easy being an entrepreneur. We only see the end results, but a lot of times everything depends on you. Give me your list of your self-talk. What gets you through the day?
Yeah, I have to tell you, I have let go of the perfectionism. Do I want it done or do I want it done perfectly? I have really had to let go of that. I also say I look up instead of down. When I get stuck, I used to be, I got to dig in deeper. Now I take myself away. I look up, I look at nature, I look at those mountains roll, and I'm like, I got to roll with it. So that's most of the two things I do. And, stepping back, step forward, that is really most of my self-talk to me these days, that it's not over till it's over. But stepping back to step forward. All
right. Your daughter is at the beginning of her life to be a serial entrepreneur, human being, could be an author, whatever. You have LinkedIn, you have Facebook, you have YouTube, everything, Ilene Marcus. And you're in one of the most beautiful parts of the country, up there in the Berkshires. And I know if you were to stand at the edge of the water on the beach, and you were to toss a bottle into the water with a note directed to your daughter, giving her the secrets of your success and life advice, what would that note say to your daughter? And please mention your daughter by name. My daughter is Samantha, and this is very personal to me. About a year ago, I had a heart attack. So I stood at that edge. What is the one thing, if I had one breath left, what would I say to her? And it would just be, know that I am always by your side. No matter what happens, I am always by your side. I'm always there. And me. She knows me enough to know that. That was my big fear, that I would die, not knowing, not giving her enough to move forward with her life. But I am always by her side. All right. And how do people get in touch with you? Telephone. No, I'm joking. I can give out your number if you like. Yeah, right. Well, with that dating offer, I don't know. So Eileen, ILENE, Marcus.com. If you Google managing annoying people, I usually just come up. That'll also point you to my website. But my website, there you can go on LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever works for you. You can it'll take you to another site to pre-order the pan. That's Eileen, ILEAN Pan. So for my website, it's really a good hub and gets you everywhere. All right. And we will definitely have you back on the show to demonstrate your pan, cook a little something or whatever. You're not that far from me. I just drove through your neighborhood a week ago. I'm producing my first feature film, and I'll send you a copy of Sprinkles. You can read that. Sprinkles, the True Spirit of Christmas. And I know someone's going to say, why is the show all about you? No, this is about us. As entrepreneurs, there's not one without two. And there's two turns into three, and it turns back to one again, because there's always a cycle of one helping another. So I would definitely love to have you on here, promote your show. I'm a foodie. So you know how I get distracted. Yeah, I may have to come there. I may have to come there and do it live from your home so I can actually taste it. The smell-o-vision is not that good. I don't get full on it.
Yeah.
I'm 220 pounds and like food. That's the reason why I work out the way that I do.
Me
So,
too.
is there anything before we sign off that you would like to have the audience take away from you as an entrepreneur, a coach, a mentor, best-selling author? Can you mention the publishing company that has your book now?
It's called the Walsh Book Team.
All right. Walsh Book Team, thank you for recognizing this talent. There's many people come on here. Thank you.
Yeah. I think I want to say, this is something I've been saying lately a lot. Just because it's not working doesn't mean it's not working, right? Because we think we're going to respond differently. Someone's going to change and they don't. They still annoy us. But we think, like with me in the pan, I'm going to create it the first time. Just because it's not working doesn't mean it's not working. Hold fast, stay the course, because, everybody says don't quit 5 minutes before the miracle. I like to say don't quit 5 minutes after the miracle. Keep going, right? Keep going.
You're right. And believe it or not, it takes 5 years for bamboo to grow. And the reason why it grows because it shows up 5 years after you put in all the work and build up the infrastructure for it to produce. So just keep that in mind as young entrepreneurs. You're not in business until after you've been 5 years. No matter how successful 1 or 2 is, 3, 4 may not be as successful. So just be prepared. So we talk about the secrets of success of people, but I'm going to ask this. And I've asked this, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I've had a lot of people on the show, almost 200 people on the show. And since I've been doing the secrets of successful people, not their bank account, their success, I've asked this one question. If you were to have one ask, or one dream to come true, if you had to ask that, and the reason why I'm asking this, because the people that follow, like, and subscribe to my show are not people that just like and subscribe. They're people with high call to action. So it means that the 7 people that I had on this show, that some stranger made their dream come true. You could be number 8. So I want you to take a second and think about what your ask would be.
My first instinct was, I want the power to heal everyone. But okay, we're not talking about that superpower. I think it's related to my pan. They say if I can get to the first 1,000 pieces, right? So I think it's related to, support for the manufacturing process for the pan, to be able to scale up, because I've got the small batch, I've got the big thing, but it's this in between of proving the model that I think, does that make sense? That's sticking.
That makes a lot of sense. All right. Well, I'm going to reach out to my friend at QVC, Bernadette. I'm going to be calling you. I won't give out your last name because you'll get a lot of junk mail of people that don't have a product with a wow factor. And the reason why I'm saying what I say, because I spent 15 years bringing product to QVC that had the wow factor. Your pan has the wow factor.
Thank you.
Right? There is a place in there. So to my listening audience, I want to thank Eileen for coming on the show. There's an open seat. You're always welcome to come back. And if you have anyone that's like-minded like you, the door is wide open. My guests, my listeners, I need you to remember this. To grow, you must make some mistakes. To have confidence, you must address your anxieties. To forgive yourself, you must first hold you accountable. And to learn, you must be able to unlearn some stuff. And to exist, you have to show up every single day like the entrepreneur. I mean, many hours went into writing the book. Rewrite. Writing the book is not hard. It's the rewrite of the book. Making the prototype for the pan and getting someone to believe in you, to put it on an apron and whatever. That is hard. You must show up as more in order for your dreams to come true. Understand the power of your words. That's why we were talking about annoying people, because there are words. Understand the power of your words. These are notes for me, the Mindset Messenger. I hope you enjoyed the show. We've covered a lot of information. If you like this episode, go to RMK Productions and Network on our YouTube page. And like I said, if you have a high call to action, go ahead and click on that, like, comment, or even follow. If you want to be a guest, go to info@rmkproductions.org. We welcome anyone with a positive attitude a positive message, and a person is giving back. That's what our show is about. Showcasing people that won't show up on Good Morning America that has a story to tell. Ilene Marcus, my friend, thank you for bringing this level of energy, all the positive affirmation, the real life experience, and just, you're a darn right good looking woman. I'm an HR nightmare. And I hope, I hope, and this is what I'm praying for you, that you get someone that adds value to your life that is a compliment to you. All right? Because you're a star. You're a star.
Thank you.
I am going to say this. Like I said, I appreciate my listeners. I appreciate my guests. You're always working back. You know, the struggle in life is a never-ending process. Freedom is never really won. It is earned. And to win, you have to win with a generation. My hashtag is find 1,000 reasons to be kind to someone. My grandfather always said, when you get to a place in life that you can help someone else out, he said it's your duty to do so. He said, reach one, teach one. And with that said, we'll fade to black. And we're out.